Are we rolling? Holy cow, we are rolling. We are here. We are doing it.
We're doing it. We're here. We're back.
Wow.
25 years.
Still alive, guys.
I'm not sure if are we back or what? What direction did we go in?
You missed us.
We went fast forward.
That's
for
it.
sure. Life is fast forward like crazy.
Does it wait? So, like in your mind, does it feel like yesterday that we were all?
No.
It
feels like forever ago.
Exactly. There was a point in time where it felt like that, but my whole life felt like that. I'm like, I still feel like I'm 20, and then suddenly in the past decade, it was like, that was a lifetime ago. It was a whole different world.
Dude, so I was starting to watch this first episode, swap.com. I know.
That was an episode?
Get it. Swap.com was probably not the best.
It was
probably not the best title.
Don't try to go to swap.com now.
It was before the .com bust.
Oh, is that what it is?
I don't know.
Now it would be.
I don't remember the majority of our episodes.
And that's okay because neither do I.
Yeah.
I'm hugely dissociative.
Yeah.
From that time in my life.
I actually think this episode's interesting because it's almost a little Simpsons-esque.
Really?
On that it, kind of predicts the future a little bit. I mean, it's about this Pokemon card. Who would have known that 20 years later, some of these would have been worth $1 million?
Yeah, Pokemon would have blown up.
Right, like Logan Paul, this like big YouTuber.
Yeah.
Is like got a huge Pokemon investment collection essentially.
So it's like, Christy, I know you didn't want to do the date then, but nowadays, now that you know that this card's worth $1 million,
honey, I make $1 million. I'm good.
I mean, hey, I'd do a date for $1 million. I'm just saying.
I hate to even say this. What happened on the episode? I mean,
oh my God.
Was I supposed to watch this one too?
Well, this was okay. Listen, Nick, I'm gonna give you a pass. I adore Nick. He did not watch some of the episodes, but that's okay. You know why? Because he's actually you've been so vital in having us come together. You've been reaching out to so many people for us to have special guests. And you've always been such an anchoring force in like our lives as it comes to Even Stevens. In fact, we're about to have an Even Stevens reunion this weekend because Nick is the one that always puts them together. So
I mean, I think this is number 4 or 5 for us since the show ended, which is now 20 some odd years ago.
Dude.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's always been such a special place. The show has always been such a special place in my life, and I've always felt a need to kind of keep bringing those people together. And it's not just the cast; it's everyone that supports us. And it's a nice little family. So
I'm actually really curious about that though, because your character really did kind of come in and come out, and then as we went along, and Donnie's character was getting older. I mean, even we were getting older, which is why we introduced Beans into the family, so to speak.
True, yeah.
Like, they weren't utilizing you as much, but you were still around. But it was like, they kind of missed the boat on a few plots. I feel like your relationship to us kind of waned. And Ty's, Larry Beal's, character was underutilized.
It's interesting because we're all even then we were at such different places in our lives, right? Even though our age gap wasn't huge, we were completely different places. I was my early 20s. You were, I think, 12 when you guys started, right?
I was 14. I was 14, and then
Shia was 12.
Yeah, okay.
You were 14.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you were.
I was 8.5, 9 when I first came on the show. I was a baby.
It was crazy. But
I think we've seen him grow the most.
I saw you grow. Like, come on. But it was it was like 1 year later, you guys were like completely different people.
Oh my God, from the pilot.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. Well, swap.com is our first episode, but it was not our pilot. In fact, our pilot was used I think halfway through the first season or something, where they did some basically a gimme where they flashed back to the pilot a lot. And I think it was me and Shia, Lewis, because Lewis and Shia are not the same person, and we'll be talking about very different life roads.
You know what? Neither is Nick and Donnie. Okay,
I love that.
Let's be clear about that. Okay.
Wait, Beans is not Beans?
No, I play myself.
But everyone thinks you are Beans.
I went method for the role, and I stayed method.
Yeah.
He stayed Beans.
It works well for you.
It did.
Actually, Steven, you had a podcast, right? That was called
Rice and Beans. Yeah, my buddy Max Rice and I.
Beans.
It was back when politics weren't as toxic. We were trying to find a solution to that.
There was that time,
and it didn't work, and we don't do it anymore.
That's a shame.
Beans loved bacon, right?
But
Was it bacon you loved?
It was bacon, and I actually got a lot of crap for it.
I'm sure you did.
I did.
What?
Yes.
How did you get
the
crap?
vegan
Well,
crap.
the vegan people, the fundamentalists, pretty much everybody in LA hated me. And
are you talking about?
I don't think we knew that back then. It would be such a
I think you should have been.
polarizing.
You should have been vegan. Your name was Beans.
It was Beans. It wasn't supposed to be a polarizing character.
Yeah, you're like the acceptable vegan protein.
Wait, so we're on the first episode of this rewatch podcast. We're canceling Beans.
Canceled.
Great, awesome.
Totally.
But for real, were people angry with you about
I did
this?
get some death threats. And
Wait, shut the fuck up.
I did.
up.
I got a couple death threats at
Do you still eat
10
bacon?
years old.
What? Where? How did you receive a death threat?
I don't eat bacon in LA anymore, and that's for safety reasons.
In LA?
Yeah, but no, from my agent at the time, got a couple death threats about
That is
eating
absurd.
bacon,
That is
accusing
absurd.
me of holy crimes.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
Oh, you poor baby.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
know what? Look, we have to take risks with these types of programming. We have to take.
Okay, wait, but did they tell Disney about the death threats? Did your agent report them?
I think they reported. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know if they ever really thought it was too serious, but because it was pretty crazy. But now we know a little bit more that people can be crazy, and some things have happened in the recent history
That's
that.
really, I mean, I don't want to say it's funny, but now I just think it's.
I think you have such a great. He has such a great
Well, I
personality.
got a dark
about
sense
it
of
all.
humor, so that kind of helps. Being able to laugh at stuff like that.
I mean, I could definitely see people kind of just pranking you with something like that, but I can't see it. I mean,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Okay,
people
so then,
take everything seriously.
let me
so
ask
I
you
don't-
this,
I don't
because
know.
you were literally like every girl that I ever knew had such a big crush on you, and they were like, "Oh my god, your older brother." I'm like, "Well, it's Nick." Okay, first of all, but second of all, how was that like? What was your dating life like after being this like hunk on this show?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, the demographic was like
Underage.
12 to 16, so
Yeah.
it didn't quite work for me at the time.
Didn't line up for a while.
No,
at
I
least.
didn't line up. Yeah, but 15 years later,
Yeah.
you go out. But no, it's yeah.
Okay, so
enough. Yeah, like
didn't hurt.
nothing. No, it didn't. I mean, listen. I think we all have benefited from the fun exposure of the show. But yeah, it was not like I was on Melrose Place or one of those other '90s shows that would have put me in a real fun world. But yeah.
So I looked back at that first episode, right? And I was surprised at, even now, as I am this fully realized, perfect, therapeutically aligned person, right? I'm not. I'm a fucking mess.
I'm like, wow, thank God you got there.
I'm sober, but like that's about it.
Oh,
that's
really?
like where the end of
Wait, how long have you been sober for?
What the fuck? You don't know this?
No.
I'm gonna just cuss on this podcast.
It's okay.
I don't care. Okay.
Let it rip.
Is that okay?
The mouse wouldn't
Fucking
like
who
that,
cares?
Christy.
Okay, so check it. So yeah, I've been sober since I was pregnant with my first.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is this 8 years now?
I guess about 7.5.
So
I think.
cool.
Yeah, I am not in program, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
for
yeah,
alcohol,
yeah.
I just stopped, and then like everything for me just kind of really fell into place, more and better spiritually and all those things.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
it's so funny. So I look back, right? And so with this first episode, which I would encourage you to definitely watch just for like our future records. I don't know. Look at me being Ren Stevens here.
Just
Well, I think you should
like
watch
Donnie.
them.
Do your homework.
Just like Donnie, I've never done my
Donnie
homework. No.
It's okay. Honestly.
Don't give me homework; it won't get done. Give me the breakdown of this show because I really have not seen an episode.
I watched it, so
For 20 years.
pretty much. Lewis wants this Pokemon card, we'll call it, and he can't get it because this other guy has it. Ernie Morton has
He's
it.
like super gross, super sleazy.
Yeah, super sleaze bag, and they kind of come up with a deal where Ernie will give Lewis the card for a date with Ren, right?
He goes, no. It's very problematic, okay? Like, I'm sorry, but it is. Because, like, he basically goes, what do you want? And Ernie then, like, AMs him, your sister.
Your sister, right?
Do you remember?
Yes.
Okay,
No,
because
was
he
I
literally
even
says
was
that.
I even in this episode?
You were.
I was?
Oh, yeah, you were
Oh, cool.
heavily in those, like,
Okay.
We shot this out of sequence. Again, this was not our pilot. In our pilot, I think you were very much
Yeah.
present in that.
And even on
do you know what the first? I know we'll come back to the synopsis, but do you recall what the show what the name of the show was when it started?
God, we got to talk about this.
Do you recall what it was?
What was it? Spivey Kids.
No.
Spivey's kid brother.
There you go. Spivey's kid brother.
Yeah, something like that.
So who was Spivey?
Spivey was our last name.
No.
What?
Spivey's kid brother.
No, we were the Spivey family, dude.
Were we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you sure?
Because it was always about...
I thought it was Spivey. That was my kid brother.
No, because it was always about him being our younger brother because we were so good at stuff.
So here's what I heard.
Okay.
First of all, this is not a complaint.
I didn't know any of this.
I feel like I have the
show.
What
was great about that show is that I mean, we went through so many evolutions of that show.
Even writers.
Like after the first few episodes,
we almost got the plug pulled on us.
Totally.
I didn't know this.
Oh yeah, the show almost never happened, and then like 3 episodes in, they scratched the entire writing staff and brought in a whole new team. With, with Mark and Mark Warren,
and Dennis.
Mark and Dennis. They wrote
Full House,
and so
Raven.
They brought them in and like redid the whole show.
So they weren't there from the start at all.
No.
Well, their sensibilities, Mark and Dennis, were very much on brand with who Lewis was for comedy.
Was like Susie and
they were never there.
They weren't.
What about like Tom and
no,
just Matt Dearborn.
Just Matt. The creator, that was it, and then of course executive producers, but everyone else was gone. So what it was going to be about was the older brother and the younger brother.
I didn't know that.
But they realized that wasn't going to, like, for Disney's new channel, they really wanted to grab young girls.
Yeah.
And they needed it to be more about the rivalry between a sister and a brother.
That I do remember.
So that was when the whole thing got changed. And as a matter of fact, my role almost got cut.
What?
Yeah. So Matt Dearborn, we had this great little like one-on-one at one point because I was, at the times like, I was working in the business pretty frequently and was definitely.
You were on a show, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh, I was on a soap for the time, but I was not getting my rate coming to Disney Channel. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And at least I was working, and that's all I wanted to do is work steady. And went to Matt with kind of like an argument why Donnie should have more of a presence on the show. And Matt gave me such a great breakdown and also let me know that, hey, listen, by the way, Disney wanted to cut this character once it became about Ren and Lewis. He said, we had to fight to keep you in there because we needed that B storyline. You always need, every good story needs a B storyline. And he's like, that's what your character is. And it was such a great, like, coming to God moment for me because, like, 1, I was grateful to even be on the show. 2, I realized, fantastic, I don't have to be here every day. Word. I don't have to work every week.
Word, because you were at UCLA.
I'm getting paid. I can go back to school.
Yeah, you were
I can
at UCLA,
do whatever.
right?
Yeah, like that. I wasn't. Yeah, I had never gone to college, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to school.
Oh, wait, weren't you 21 or so? Or you were older?
I was older. I was 20.
Really?
I was 23 when I went back. I started taking classes at Santa Monica City College and then eventually transferred into UCLA. But I went to UCLA at I think I was 23 or 24. 23 when
What'd you major in? What were you majoring in?
Philosophy and English. Yeah.
I remember that.
But it was because that was like such a great, it was just, I had to shift my perspective.
Nick, were you a kid actor?
No.
When did you start acting?
I started, I signed like my manager contract at 18.
Okay.
Yeah. So my parents, I had gotten approached at like 17, but they're like, nah, you can do this once you can sign your own contract.
That's
Until
nice.
then, you can't do it. And then
that's actually a really good policy.
I think it's a great policy.
Because
great
at 18,
policy.
if you do look young, you can still do children's shows, but then you're
make your own decisions.
Yeah.
And don't have, your parents getting sucked into this business is, as you all know from being kid actors, is one of the pitfalls for so many kids that go into entertainment. And so my parents were not involved. They said, you can make your own choices, sign your own contracts, go for it. Although I did get kicked out of school, which is what led me into the show business.
You got kicked out of school?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you do, Nick?
Woo! I did some crazy things.
Really?
Yeah. I was
Were you a fighter?
Fighter?
Yeah, like did you throw hands?
No. I was a lover. Still a lover. Always a lover.
Well, how'd you get
you got in trouble that way? Okay.
Was school just not your thing? Were you just kind of
I was definitely not focused on school at the time. Okay. I was an adrenaline junkie. So anything crazy that I went to an all boys Catholic school.
Well, Nick is actually very
knuckles out, Nick. I got the ruler.
Nick is very much an Italian brother of mine. Like he has a bunch of sisters, and he's always very much a paisan, as they say.
Yeah, I was just I like to stir the pot, and my poor parents went through hell with me, but it was I'm grateful for even those moments, because those moments are what kind of, I think anytime you have a major fallout or failure in your life, it's an opportunity for you to kind of like look at yourself honestly and decide, okay, what do I want to be and where do I want to go? And you're seeing yourself honestly, and I needed that reflection. I needed that honest mirror saying, okay, you think you're a good guy, but you're not doing good things. And that was like literally, it was a huge pivot for me, getting kicked out of school, and like my poor dad and mom had paid for me to go to a private school, and I'm one of 9, so they put 9 kids through private school, and they don't make a ton of money.
What did your parents do?
My dad's an architect.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a huge coming to God moment for me, and my dad tried to he's an ex-Marine, so he tried to
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So he tried to give me like the military.
Marine.
He tried to, I'm sorry, he was a former Marine.
Because you're never not a Marine.
He tried to give me like that military,
Oh my gosh. Did he want you to join the military after
No, but he wanted to run the house like that for me, and I'm like, it was like, Dad, it's too late, Pops.
Yeah, you're majoring in philosophy.
I wasn't at that time. I was just a punk kid, but I was like, I realized that I had to move out and take care of myself, and it's kind of like suffer the consequences for my own actions. And so I did. I moved out and lived on a boat, and
I remember that.
I guess I do remember you had a boat.
Yeah, when we started the show, I was living on a boat in
Marina Del Rey. Now, how could you possibly afford that?
I was riding a bike to our set.
Everybody assumes that we know everything about each other, but we really don't.
Well, we did at the time, but we were so focused on our own.
I remember you had a
boat.
You were a boat guy. You were like sexy boat guy.
Yeah, I was living on a boat with my dog Capone. Remember Capone?
Yes,
Capone came to the set.
Capone was a Rottweiler. You love Rottweilers, right? You've had several.
Well, no, it was the only one I had, but it was my first dog.
I still remember your dressing room, how you decorated and that big old mural you drew in your dressing room. Do you remember that?
Do you have a picture of it? I would love to see that picture, man.
No.
He is a great painter, and an artist, which I don't know if people realize.
Well, I can't wait for you guys to see the Speakeasy on Sunday. You'll see all that. But
so our reunion that we're about to have, that Nick has graciously organized once again, is going to be at his most recent venture, because he actually is very much a businessman. And I'm excited. What's the speakeasy called?
Leather and Rose.
Leather and Rose. Yeah. Okay, cool. And it's here. It's in LA.
It's in LA. Private members only social club, and cool. Do a lot of private events, and
That's so cool.
Gotta know somebody who knows somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the somebody.
I'm gonna put you at the door.
I'll be the bouncer.
He's gonna be the heavy. The heavy. Are you kidding me? That's iconic.
They're gonna walk in like
Beans.
Walk in and look down. Hey, don't mess with this
Beans
guy.
The heavy. Aaron Garen. No.
Beans is the fighter.
Mess with the beans, you get the bacon.
First of all, Beans is definitely the glue that held Stevens together for at least like the last 2 years. Okay, so swap.com.
Swap.com.
But how do you, let's just talk about though, shit, this is going to be hard. We're going to get through it, guys, I promise.
I know.
But what about our auditions? Yours came later, but like, do you remember your audition for the show?
Yeah, mine was really interesting because I had this, bit where I always, did a joke before my audition or after, depending on how it went.
I had that bit when I was a kid.
Yeah. So I did the thing on my first one, and I did the audition, got a callback, and I got the sides for like the callback, and the joke I did was written in the sides.
These bastards.
So I'm like, oh my God, they stole my joke and they didn't book me. Wow. What am I going to do? So I did the audition, got the callback, got another callback, and the joke is still in there. So now I'm freaking out going, oh God, well, I hope I get it and my so that it's not just my joke in there and I'm in there too. And then I wound up booking it and showed up my first day, and I guess the rest is history.
Steven, those are the thoughts of an 8-year-old, though. Like, that's like very serious. Like, that to have your joke. What joke was it?
It was a pirate joke. You know, the one with the ship was a rocking and a rolling.
No, you got to tell us the joke.
No, I remember this. Yeah,
I don't even remember the joke nowadays.
I remember you
20 years
about
later.
This. Yeah, you have to repeat this.
It was something. Okay, there was a pirate
for an 8-year-old. I'm
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
it wasn't that bad. It was like there was a pirate on a ship. The ship was a rocking and a rolling, and the pirate fell off the ship. And I was like, "Hey pirate, how'd you get the eye patch? No, the eye patch is the last. That was a punchline.
Okay,
how'd you get the wooden leg?" He goes, "Oh, I fell off a ship and a shark came and bit off my leg." Arr. I was like, "Well, how'd you get the hook?" He goes, "Oh, I fell off the ship. The ship was a rocking and a rolling, and a shark came and bit off me arm." Arr. I was like, "Well, how'd you get the eye patch? Did a shark come?" And he was like, "No, a seagull came and shit in my eye, and I forgot about me hook."
No,
it was just one of those old, random jokes.
That's hilarious. Did you actually say shit?
I don't think I said shit. I think I said poop or something.
Pooped in my eye or something like that. They loved it. You got the job right there.
Yeah, and I got the job right.
Because that's the tone of our show.
Well, no, I didn't get it for 3 more auditions.
Yeah,
they didn't clue me in.
How many did you go in for total auditions?
I think it was 4 auditions total.
Yeah,
the first one.
I think they knew they wanted you from the minute they saw you.
They could have clued me in.
Yeah,
I would have liked to know.
Hey,
but they always
how many auditions did you go in for, Christy?
I think I was out there for pilot season with my mom. I was about 13, 14 at the time, I think 14. And I was only there for about a month. I was there for 30 days. I think we stayed at like Oakwood or something like that. You know what I mean?
I stayed at Oakwoods too.
I know.
Horrid place.
They've since painted it over and renamed it, but it's still Oakwood,
Is it still doing the same thing though? It's not really like
Ava.
that.
It's now called Ava. It's over there on Burbank on Laurel Canyon.
My house was right there.
Yeah, I remember.
Barham.
We're all triggered by it. But yeah, I don't know if they're still doing that. I'd be actually curious to know if they are, because I think there needs to be some
there isn't a pilot season anymore.
So that might be part of the reason.
So they can't, be like, come out for pilot season and you'll be a star, mama.
Oh man, the industry is so different now.
Yeah,
you can't. Different. I go out for calls once in a while. I hate doing these. What do you call these?
Home
virtual calls or whatever.
What's the point?
Yeah, I mean, I like the energy of walking into a room. Now, granted, I'd have to build the stomach up again for it, because it definitely is a different kind of pressure. But I loved when you can go into a room and you deliver a performance and you can like feel like you have them.
Well, here's the thing about Joey Paul Jensen, right? So Joey was our casting agent. You had a relationship with a casting agent like that, right? Where like you knew that I'm going to be a great candidate for this job. And even as a kid, she just made it that environment where she really tried to help you along with your audition. She really cared about each kid. Sure. Yeah. And then she would literally like acquire talent, and she would foster that talent. And that's why there's so many people, I think, from even Stevens and Disney in general, because she did a bunch of different Disney shows that like went off and did amazing things.
That casting director for me was Robin Lippin. Shout out to Robin Lippin, man. Yeah. Do you remember her? Did you ever audition for her?
I definitely did. I'm the worst with casting.
I don't think I did.
No, I'm sure you weren't around. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. She was definitely around even when our show started, but she was, I think, kind of doing, first of all, network shows and probably a little older at that point. Robin Lippin, when I first met her, I was green as you could get, and she would bring me in for everything.
She just liked you.
She wanted to see me book, and so I got my first job because of her. It was Saved by the Bell was my first one, I think.
What? That's crazy.
Was your first audition Saved by the Bell?
It wasn't my first audition, but the first booking was
like towards the end of Saved by the Bell.
It was the new class. Saved by the Bell, the new class.
Okay.
Almost got fired.
For what?
The director, Don, forget Don's last name, but I'll never forget it because, like, you guys know what it's like. You're in this crazy industry.
And it's a sitcom,
crazy
right?
business. Yeah. And then, like, here you are, you finally book a job. It's like, it's very different from being an actor going on auditions to being an actor that's actually on set earning a paycheck. Like, it's just a very different experience. The first part, auditioning, is kind of like just a hopeful dream.
There's and then
when you book a job, it's like you have to deliver now. You have to really show up and deliver, and the pressure is completely different. And so here I am doing this Saved by the Bell episode, but he just didn't like the way I was doing it. And he came up and like after doing several takes, he took me aside behind one of the sets, and he's like, "Stop being so goddamn cool." Like the way I was delivering, I guess, felt cool. It wasn't, I don't know.
Were you supposed to be a nerd?
Oh, that's a nerd.
No, he was, I only booked jock roles at that point. That's all I was booking was these like, jock kids, high school jock kids.
That's not the way you direct.
No, it was definitely not the way to handle the situation. But it was, again, like, it's funny when you talk about the struggles that child actors go through. I'm so glad I didn't start until I was a little older. I mean, even 18, 19 is still young.
Yeah, it's pretty young.
But it was just, I didn't go home and complain. I didn't call HR. I didn't do any of that. You just, okay, suck it up. Like, figure this out. You got to make it work. And like, he's having a bad fucking day. It's not my problem. I'm gonna do my scene and hopefully make it through this episode. And I did. And that's like, out of my career, there's probably been 2 times where I almost got fired. And there are hard moments, but you deal with it.
Yeah.
And as an adult, that works out. But as a kid,
you can't. No, absolutely. Yeah. You cannot talk. First of all, you're not going to get the performance you want out of an 8-year-old or 9-year-old if you're cursing at them and making.
You get out there and make me my money, you little shit.
And that happens a lot. It happens a lot. People lose their cool because it is, you are a child working in an adult world, no matter what. Even if it's a kid's show, you're in an adult world.
You know my whole take on this, right?
When you started, you were doing Broadway before you came to the show, right?
Yeah.
So you were doing major theater.
Yeah.
And then stepped into...
It was Bell,
World,
and a bunch of other stuff, right?
No, so Bell came after Disney when I was like 18.
Okay.
But, or actually, was I 19? I had been I would think more or less classically trained in that I was in real theater productions that were either on Broadway or in traveling companies that still were like First National Tours, which technically is still like almost Broadway. But I was really competitive, okay? Like, I think you guys need to get to know me because there's so much I'm finally coming to terms with about how I was raised and the limitations that my parents truly had upon them, and being that sort of like buttoned up East Coast middle class, lower middle class family, like getting by on credit, like Italian, very prideful. And there's so much, I think, to unpack when I'm watching these episodes. And so, like, yes, like I have been to hell and back in some ways that maybe I have, that Steven hasn't, you know what I mean? And his experience was crazy. And your experience with clashing with personalities or people not giving you, the credit you deserve, like all of that stuff, I feel like is able to be unpacked here. And so I hope that we can really strike a balance with talking about these episodes because they are so wonderful and vibrant, but also sort of coming to the table and also being like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that about you. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So side note there. So my audition, I was staying at Oakwood, right? And then I got about 10 in 30 days, which actually is not that many. Abby Bluestone was my agent at the time, and she had left from New York. There was an agency called SEM&M. And they were a big agency, which I guess still exists, but only as an advertising agency now. And so she moved over. Big agency for kids. That's how I was booking a bunch of stuff. And I think I was considered a quote unquote booker, right? Everybody knows that term. She's a booker. He's a booker.
Yeah, she's going to get the job.
She's a good. And that was all you wanted to hear when you were a kid. I'm a booker. Oh my God, I'm considered a booker. Anyway, so I was a booker enough where I came off this basically Lincoln Center / Broadway show called Parade, which is now back on Broadway. It's had a huge cult following for many years. And so she goes, okay, come out to LA with this severance pay because they closed early. And I had a couple $1,000s that my mom and I kind of utilized for this trip, and it banked our trip. So we had 30 days, but in those 30 days, 10 auditions. One of those auditions was Spivey's kid brother, and they wanted me to test. I literally came in this Matt will tell you this whole story. He's been interviewed by Chris Marquette and AJ Troth when they had different podcasts. I feel like they've talked a lot about stuff. And Matt's always been so sweet where he was like, I think the best audition I've seen when it came to kids was Christy, because she came in and was the role. And I was like, yeah, I was a super uptight kid that was like terrified of everything. Like that's actually who I truly was.
Yeah.
And so I came in and I guess my mom was like, oh, she's a super, type A kid. Let's go to the mall and buy you a Ralph Lauren suit. And I'm like, that we couldn't afford that, right? But I came and it did actually book me the role just based on what I was wearing. And so I remember very clearly, guys, being in the Alameda, Disney chemistry read with Shia. And he had two-tone hair. I don't know why he had two-tone hair. Do you remember this?
No.
He had it was crazy. Maybe he tried to do highlights on himself or something, but it was legit. Like he had weird
I'm not surprised.
patches of his hair that were like blonde, and then other patches he was very unkept. And
Perfect.
and he came in and he had like UFO baggy pants, probably just came off from like Venice Beach, like I didn't even know. Like I'd never seen anything like that before, other than some of the kids I knew that were more downtown New Yorker type kids. And so I felt like we were so like diametrically opposed. Like we were just so different. It was like a guttural reaction. Mm-hmm. And that's the chemistry that I think they just,
absolutely.
Holy cow. They were like, that's it. So that was it.
Because even when I met you, you were always very, very motherly, very
he
maternal.
He says this, but I was a total bitch.
No, I
was a total bitch because I was terrified of everything.
I can't wait. I can't wait for us to get into some of this.
Oh,
not to me at all.
I'm gonna have to be held accountable.
No.
No.
First of all, you're doing an amazing job. You have amazing kids. You have an incredible husband. You've earned your stripes, darling. But it was a very interesting time. I mean, you're talking about young kids going through their teenage years
with nothing else outside of that world.
Yeah,
too, because
in a very intimate world with other people that it's just it's wild. It's got to be difficult. So you're going through all those like growing pains and those learning life experiences with people that you're contracted to work with.
Dude, I had braces. We got to talk about the braces eventually. Because so I watched this first season or this first episode, swap.com, and I was like, oh fuck. I was like, I need to go like put my retainer in because now I haven't used my retainer in so long that my teeth are actually moving, but I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
It's like my teeth and everything about my teeth and my body. I was very critical watching this episode.
Totally.
And I was very surprised at that negative, like almost like a replaying of a tape that's since been very silenced. And I was like, I've got to check in with myself.
I'm actually glad you're bringing that up. And that's something that I think a lot of people can benefit from hearing about, especially right now. Because like ever since Kardashians have kind of become the media focus of all things, social media, entertainment, it's kind of made this cosmetic surgery world so normal for so many people at a very young age, where it's just expected or accepted that if you don't like the way you look, you can make it better by just changing it. And I never came from that world, and I don't think any young kid should be looking at themselves through the lens of a knife.
I'm still thinking about getting ass implants. I don't care what y'all say.
Hey, your ass looks great the way it is.
You think?
You just accept your
I don't know. Yeah, what do you think, Nick? I mean,
you know what? It's the right size for your body.
Maybe I can get a Groupon. Maybe I can get a Groupon or something. They are
don't do the Groupon work. Don't do the Groupon work.
We're never going to get through one of these episodes.
I think it's going well.
How many auditions?
Like 2. It was legitimately
2?
Like I think
2 auditions.
I was there for 30 days, and so because they wanted to test me, I extended my stay like 2 days. But then we booked it, and quite frankly, I want to say that I was back in New York when we got the call that I had booked it, but I had from the get-go a very I was embarrassed to be working for Disney.
Really? Mm-hmm. Even as a kid?
Well, what you guys might not know about me.
I felt that way too at first.
Because you were on an adult soap opera.
I was doing adult stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to a kid's show now.
Perspective here. Disney Channel was not what it is now. Or was, I guess.
I mean, let's be honest. Disney Channel isn't what it was then. It was. I think most people that watch the show or are fans of the show would all agree that Disney Channel then was way better than it is now.
So now it's called officially.
Disney.
Don't. It's they get it. That's why they're not even Disney Channel. It's Disney.
Put me back on the show and it'll get much better.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, reboot, bitches. Never gonna happen. But
that's for sure. Oh boy.
This is the reboot. Okay, this is the reboot of Even Stevens that you all wanted. Hey, look. So basically it's the golden era of Disney Channel. That's what people are. They're all calling it that. I think even Disney is like saying it's that. But we were at the beginning of that golden era. We forged the path for this golden era to kind of develop, and we were this single camera show. Which, looking back now,
which was never done before at that time. Not for that kind of like comedy. It was
not
always,
for a comedy. They had Jet Jackson, and those things were shot in Canada, and they were very much like almost
multicam.
No, that was single cam Jet Jackson. It was like, but it was like a. It was not.
But like, most comedies at the time were
grounded.
shot on the soundstage with
live studio audience.
Yeah, live studio audience, multi-camera. Yeah. This was completely different for them. And as a matter of fact, I don't know how many people know this. I mean, we know this, but viewers may not. Even Stevens started the musical, High School Musical trend with Influenza. That whole musical episode is what started kind of like that, bringing back those Grease type shows.
Disney used to have, well, because before our programming they used to have the Disney World and Disneyland, like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears are going to do a pop-up concert at the parks. Isn't that great? And they'd have Coca-Cola sponsoring or some shit. And then they would air it, and then they would like repurpose it for their radio stations, and like, because there was a lot of umbrellas, a lot of tendrils to, the Disney family, which was what I think I ended up working for a lot of different ones.
You and Shia definitely, actually, you did a bunch of Disney programs.
Yeah, I did. That's a Raven After.
Oh, did you?
That's right.
And then I did another pilot for called Ghost 6. It was a animated voice thing that never got picked up. I think I was a hamster, if I remember right.
That's so cool.
I was definitely outside the Disney stable after even Stevens, but yeah.
Well, because what happened to me was the same thing at your age at that time. I went back to them in my 20s and I was like, can you guys use me for something? Like legit. I was like eating lunch and taking generals with Gary Marsh and Adam Bonnet. And they were like, you're not a student, you're not a teacher really, and you're not a parent.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing that we can do for you. And I was just like, I'll see myself out. Like, I'm not coming back.
Talking about the auditions, Gary Marsh was instrumental in that moment for me, because I think I'd gone in for like 5 auditions at that, and I was living on the boat, and never had I gone in for 5 auditions for one part. It was like 3 max. After 3, you booked the job or you didn't.
Right. Yeah, that's what I experienced.
And they kept bringing me back, and I'm like, yo, make up your mind already. And then on top of that, it was like we were at that point, you're talking about contracts, like,
oh yeah, that's right.
And it was like the money was not that exciting, and I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do it. And then the last audition I went in for, and so again, keep in mind, I thought this was gonna be Spivey's kid brother. So, and it was sounding like a New York kind of thing. Yeah. And so I was doing like this New York accent, and it was like, and so they told me for the last audition, lose the New York accent. I'm like, okay. So I go in for this last audition. It's a producer read. Everyone's there, and Gary Marsh is sitting on the far right side. And so I do my read, and on my way out, I just kind of like, I don't know if it's a tick of mine or my natural thing. Well, no, I like to connect with people, right? Like I like, I'm a hugger, right? I hug everybody. I hug Gary Marsh. No, I didn't hug Gary Marsh.
I was going to say, oh my God.
But I would hug you, Gary Marsh. But I was walking out, and I just like give him a pat on the shoulder. And I'm like, thanks. That was it. And just a little tap on the shoulder.
Just like a human connection to do.
Yeah. I just that's, especially when in that role that I was playing, I was kind of like, Donnie is this warm, lovable
buffoon.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So I patted him on the shoulder on the way out. And he said that when I did that, he was like, I like that guy. He's got confidence. And he's like, and so that was one of those little moments that helped seal the deal for me, and I got the job. And then David Grace was David Grace. He was just gracious and amazing, and like negotiated this contract back and forth with my agent. And
see, I wouldn't even know about what negotiations were done on my behalf, which is so sad. It's like I have no idea what my starting rate was. I probably started at scale.
Yeah,
you probably got paid more than me.
No. You guys definitely.
You definitely
got. Yeah,
I think I got favored nations, which means that Shia and I made the same.
Yeah.
I think that was what we ended up doing.
Yeah, it was crap, but
Disney doesn't. They don't pay their talent Well, now they probably do, but
I don't know.
I think it's probably still
especially
hard.
when it's a new network,
right? It was a new network,
they didn't have the budget.
I was so young, all of this went right over my head.
I'm glad.
I was
I'm
8 or
glad
9 or
it did.
10.
You
Yeah,
don't have to be.
Yeah.
Well, no. So this was what was cool though, is that I turned it down. I turned it down because the rate was terrible. And then David Grace actually called me directly, and he's like, "Listen, we know you want us to come up to this number. We can't do that. I just want you to know it's just not in our budget. We would, but we really want you." He's like, "I hope you decided to take it." And it was that call, and I'm like,
he personally called you on the phone and talked to you?
Personally called me. He asked my agent if he could talk to me directly. He asked Mara Santino, who was my agent at the time. And we did. We had a one-on-one phone call, and
ballsy.
It was super cool. I mean, like, but that's the relationship I've had with David ever since. Like, you know, he's the one who I reach out to when it's time for us to do a reunion. I'm like, hey man, let's do this.
That's cool.
He's a great producer. He's produced many wonderful films that have gone to like Tribeca and Sundance, and David just all of our. We should talk about our crew a little bit too, like what it's like. I mean, this will be, I think, like a running theme.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a family. That's why, like, whenever this comes up, I know everyone's going through their own like life experience, and we don't all see things the same way. But being in the business at a young age, we were blessed to have like that family experience that we had. Yeah,
it was
really?
You
know
what?
I
never really looked at it that way until recently, and now I'm seeing it more now.
Yeah.
This will give me a deeper appreciation.
I mean, like,
all of that.
And it's also a huge credit to Sean McNamara and David Brookwell, because they didn't go to Burbank on Disney studio.
No, that saved us, guys. That saved me. Because I lived in Marina Del Rey.
Yeah.
Was that because of Shia though that we did that? Oh, okay. Because I thought it was they filmed it there.
They lived
in Manhattan.
In Manhattan
with their kids and stuff.
Yeah, and they didn't want to have to drive to Burbank, and they also didn't want Disney to have so much of like control over the show.
Because they would go from the studio
they rented
to lunchtime. They would like the executives from Disney will come and visit your set and just kind of like lurk and then give notes, like very much micromanage. And that every creator hates that.
They rented a warehouse and built their own studio in Playa del Rey, the one that we were all.
You remember it was Marina. It's Marina, right? It was on Beethoven.
But that's Playa.
It's Playa, right?
It's Playa. It's now Playa Vista. But at the time there was nothing. None of that development was there. It was legitimately like what I heard. Baywatch's
old studio. I remember that.
And they cut Hasselhoff's dressing room in half. And one side was, I guess, like maybe
interesting.
I wonder if that whole cluster of dressing rooms that we all had was his entire dressing room. Maybe he had like a whole suite because it was like all cut up and partitioned.
Wasn't his? Because I halfway remember this. I think it was Nick's and also the studio room, because our studio schoolroom was like right behind Nick's, wasn't it?
God, I can't remember that.
I don't know, man. I just know that I was across from Shia, and so I had to hear a lot of things. I think I heard him hooking up with Margot Arshman at one point. I don't even know. I don't know. Poor kid.
My God.
I know. I heard him talk to his dad a lot, and that was disturbing. But honestly, I feel like I missed out on relationships with everybody. Like I do. I feel like I missed out. I don't know if hindsight's 20/20, and there's nothing that I can do. I can just be grateful that we're here now. But who I am now is very much, I'm very present in that I'd like to have relationships with folks from that time and sort of almost reintroduce myself.
Yeah.
Well, but why do you feel like there's so much for you to like repair or make amends for? I mean,
okay. That's a good question.
No, listen, I mean, childhood is childhood. We're all going to go through our journey and our struggles, and we're going to make a hell of a lot of mistakes. But I mean, and I know that stuff sticks with us for a long time into adulthood, but why do you feel like there's a need to go back and kind of rehash or repair all of that? You were a 14-year-old girl going through all the things a young girl goes through in a very kind of like high pressure, microscopic life.
Yeah.
And you were a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, I was. Think about it. I had to be, because it was a coping mechanism. It was a self-defense mechanism when I look back on it. So I think that's just kind of, I guess that, yes, that is the truth. And as long as that can be sort of, I guess, forgiven or understood that was what it had to be for me to survive, then I guess then I can
I don't know if it has to be. Right? Like we all get to choose how we're going to respond to those moments in life, right? That was how, whatever the tools you were given through your family and everything else, that was the way you chose to deal with that shit. You're right. And as a matter of fact, let's be honest, you were on a show that gave you a lot of attention, and that we all process that attention in a different way. That's how you process it. And no one's right or wrong. It was what you went through. When I say you're a bitch, I mean that with love, because
I think you and
I had to butt heads a few times.
Yeah,
and I had.
No, I didn't butt heads with you as much as Shia.
Yeah,
well, no.
I remember you two butting heads. I remember you and Shia butting heads.
Well, of course, because they were the same. They were peers. They were the same age. Well, but that's what you would expect with two people who are the stars of the show. And
I hated feeling like a cliche. I think by the end of the show, I was like,
welcome to the world. I mean, that's what it is. But no, we didn't butt heads as much, only because one, I couldn't butt heads with you. You were a 14-year-old girl. I couldn't be
16. I was 16.
Whatever you were. I couldn't be a 23, 24-year-old guy getting into fights with a 16-year-old girl. I had to create distance between you and your mom.
Like, oh God.
Like, God love your mom, but I had to create distance because it was like I can't deal with some of the drama that's happening in this space.
Sure, fair enough.
But I will say though, you and I came together years after that.
That is true.
And
how did we rediscover each other? Through one of your reunions, I think.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, whatever. It wasn't like we ever were.
Or through a friend, and then it was us. I was looking for work in my 20s, and then we started chatting about your acting school.
Yeah, that's right. Classes. That's right. Well,
dude, we
started doing that.
We literally
together.
Created a business together.
I wish we never sold that. I
didn't hear about
that domain.
Yeah.
You guys have to tell me.
Actors Live.
You got to tell me about this. I never heard about this.
Yeah, we taught classes for it was because I
would say 6 months. Actually.
Yeah, I was teaching in Vancouver for 2 years.
That's right.
And it was doing really well.
But you were really good for that. You were really good. I since worked for other versions of that company, and some of them were not so.
No. Well, that was the only reason why I worked for them.
The one with the 3 initials.
Yeah, let's not. Yeah, I don't want. It's sad that it's people still, if anyone writes about me or my career, that still comes up as one of the highlights, and it drives me crazy because I don't like to be associated with that. It wasn't I think what people don't understand is I've done a lot of things. There's been a lot of things in my life that I've tried, and that's the one title that has stuck with me for some reason, and I don't love that. The only reason why I worked with that school is one, I got to bring all my actor friends into it and
get a paycheck.
Introduce them, and get a paycheck, but also introduce young aspiring actors to people working in the business, which was huge. And the other thing is I made a deal that if I'm doing this, I'm not teaching the program you're teaching. We have to have a writing program for these kids that write their own material and learn what it's like. So at least they're getting a well-rounded experience. And we did for 2 years, we did that. And so kids got a lot out of that program, even if the school itself was kind of a little shady and shoddy. But
I felt like when I went to Canada to visit it, I was like, oh, this is Nick's program. Like the kids literally wrote their own monologues, and you could tell how much they loved Nick and how inspirational he had been. So yeah, no, I get it.
It was a cool experience. But you and I reconnected, and you had matured so much, at that time. And I remember specifically a couple of conversations we had. And one,
but I was struggling, Nick. I was definitely struggling even when I was.
I'm sure.
With you,
yeah, I
Go
get
ahead,
that.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We can talk about that too. But I just remember you saying, "Hey, there was one thing you said to me once, and I'm not going to go too deep into this stuff, but it was like you said I basically made a comment to you look, when you get to this point in your life and you realize that this shit don't fly, talk to me then, and then." I
don't remember anything. That's great.
That was you were probably 16 years old, and I'm I'm not going to play these games with you.
You definitely didn't play games.
Yeah, and then here you are.
Was that you talking to her? Or her
yeah. I'm looking back now. I'm remembering things.
I talked to her, and then she was going to school at Columbia.
I was so offended.
Weren't you going to school at Columbia?
I ended up going to Columbia.
Yeah, this was during your time in Columbia, and we had reached out and we had connected and you talked. Yeah, and then you said, "Hey, I want you to know that you were right," and I'm not trying to be right. That's not my goal here.
Okay.
But my point is to show you that you've done a lot of self-reflection. And I mean, I'm freaking 46. I'm 46. And
Jesus, you look so fucking
thanks,
good.
Babe. And
both of you guys look so good.
I'm self-reflecting every day still, every day. You know, so like you've put the time and you've put the work into it, and there's definitely a lot of growth. And you even said something to me that I won't remember exactly what you said.
I'm sorry, I just can't get over that you just said you're 46 years old.
Yeah,
you
I know, it's crazy.
The same as you do.
No, not at all.
Not
at all.
Dude.
You do.
I mean,
you do.
There's ways,
crazy,
right?
Crazy.
There's ways.
But you said something that I can't recall exactly what it was, but it is one of those things that I'm like, she's right. It was something about the choices we make, how those become habit forming. And I can't recall exactly what it was, but it was clearly something that you had thought about, maybe something you heard and became a mantra for you. Like there's certain things you just don't do because once you start doing them, they become habits. And it was like, yeah, I stay away from that. And I'm like, good for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
child acting, not even once.
Child acting, not wait, don't do it?
Yeah, no, just
yeah.
I mean, I definitely don't feel that way about, but it all depends on, you know, the tools you have and the family that's there to guide you.
1,000%.
Yeah.
But look, I think that overall, I think coming to the show, we all came with a beautiful sense of wonderment and wanting to be a part of something. And I think that won out in the end every day and every time the cameras were rolling. And I think we all kind of still connect on that magic. Like, it's like people assume I hate Disney. I don't at all. Like, I just went to Disneyland with my kids and cried when they were getting their you know, princess makeover. It's like, I'm into it. I believe in it. I believe in that wonderment. And I believe that like even Steven still holds up for a generation. We were talking about how people come up to us all the time and they're like, you were my childhood. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
They all use the same phrase to all of us and a couple other people I know from the golden era of Disney that we spoke about this episode, which we will have to wrap up now. But
it's over?
I know. Well, it's going to keep going, guys. This is pretty deep, but look, literally we have someone to tell us to wrap it up.
We can talk about all of that on our next episode. And I think that we also have to talk about an episode that we didn't quite get to.
Swap.com was great. Go ahead and watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I wish I had my Pokemon cards still.
Oh man. Did you sell them?
No, I think I just threw them out.
Oh, okay.
I had like a whole bunch of them, and then, you know, probably be worth a couple $1,000,000 now. They're probably sitting in
Did you go on the date with this guy?
So he sells her to a dude to do a date, and but like Lewis always does, he's like, he actually was in the wrong, but Disney was smart to make him in the right by the end of it. He gets it. She thinks she's doing a volunteer work for extracurriculars. She's really competitive. She goes on this date with this guy. They do like a snapshot in the mall pictures. And so he goes around school saying she's like my girlfriend. And she's like, oh my God. And then all shit like hits the fan. And then she's mad at Lewis because she realizes what happened to her. And it really is like, when we think about the stakes of siblingness, like, would you ever set your sister up like that on a date with some gross ass creepy guy? And then be like, oh no, this is for volunteer work. Like that's psychotic.
Well, I mean,
wait, have you done it?
I mean,
is it worth $1,000,000?
I have 6 sisters, and none of them would go on a date with anyone I recommend. But no, I mean, I think it's funny. I think it's exactly what you do when you're kids. Now, granted, I think what's interesting is, would we even be able to play an episode like that now? Or I mean, like, would that storyline fly?
I'm trying to think about it that way. I am.
And I think it's still fun.
To be honest, I watched it and I was like, I'd be totally fine with my kids watching this. Yeah. So I do think we would be able to do it.
We get way too sensitive about this stuff.
I think it's more poignant now than ever, especially with, you know, how lonely we have. This is probably the most lonely generation in recent history, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, without a doubt.
Think about, you know, so, you know, the connectivity within the internet. I think it's more poignant now than ever.
Awesome. Well, good. I think the show's grounded. I think we're going to keep watching them and talking about them and unpacking them.
Yeah.
So, guys, go ahead. And...
I promise I'll start watching them.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we trust that.
Yeah. Until next week.
Yeah, okay, we will.
Next episode.
What are we doing? A Q&A
that I won't
next
watch.
On
Q&A.
This episode. So we'll do lots of different, you know, aspects of. Oh my God, there's so much to do, guys.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of history to catch up on. Bring us your question, guys.
Bring us your bacon. Strips.
As long as it's vegan bacon.
Don't bring us death threats. How about that?
Tempeh.
No death threats.
Tempeh bacon. Tempeh bacon's great. You could totally, if we redo the show and you come back, you are definitely vegan.
Definitely vegan.
Oh my God,
Has
yes.
to be. Has to be. I agree.
I love it.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah. Peace, everybody.
Hey guys, hope that you enjoyed this episode. Want more of us in your life? Join our Patreon for exclusive weekly bonus content.
And if you join our Patreon by next week's episode, you'll get access to a live Q&A event with us.
So don't miss out. Join our Patreon now.